As the great rapper Jay-Z once said, on to the next one. Here at Locked On Seminoles, we're turning the page from Boston College and now looking forward to our matchup with Wake Forest Demon Deacons as they come to Tallahassee. And quite frankly, this is a good chance for FSU to become 5-0 for the first time in a very long time. All that and more on today's edition of Locked On Seminoles.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Locked On Seminoles. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Drake here, and today I am joined by what appears to be the ghost of Mr. David Wise. David, what's going on, my guy?
Drake, I've just fixed the video. Yeah, we're in business here. We have internet, we have video. Life is good.
I'm so proud of you right now. For those of you who don't know, you can tell by Dave's Twitter handle, he's not the most technologically inclined, even though he did build on computers. So I'm actually very proud of you, Dave. But this is not a tech podcast. We're talking about Florida State sports right now. FSU football. Wake is coming to town. Hopefully, Hurricane Ian, for those of you, I know in Central Florida, basically, please prepare yourselves. Please stay safe out there. But the game, as of right now, is still scheduled to go on. So let's do a little preview of it. Dave, take us away.
All right, Drake. So, Wake Forest. We have to talk about some things here, I think. We have to have a little talk. We're 4-0 right now.
We are.
Wake Forest going into this year was a game that I thought we probably should win because it's a lot of just Sam Hartman there. Their defense hasn't been
good. It was good.
Their defense hasn't been particularly good, but nevertheless, going into this year, this was a game that I think neither of us would have been upset if you had told us in advance, you were going to drop one to Wake Forest. It would have been like,
I thought we were going to lose originally.
Right. It's like, okay, they have like the best quarterback that's ever come through Wake Forest. It would be understandable if we would lose. Man, the scripts have flipped since the beginning of this year. We're now obviously a touchdown favorite over Wake Forest. Sam Hartman was expected to be out for this game. I think that changed a lot of opinions to this being a guaranteed win. Sam Hartman is no longer out. Obviously, that is no longer a guaranteed win. You could say that much. But the way this Florida State team has been playing, you have to feel pretty good still about your chances, notwithstanding what Wake just did to Clemson. I know they lost that game, but that didn't feel much like a loss. Clemson was supposed to be this nothing but 5-star blue chip recruits team, and they got taken to the wire by Wake Forest. So if you watch that game, it didn't, I don't think it made you feel any better about our chances, but I think high level view of this Wake Forest game is I think we go in expecting to beat this team. But I think you have to get yourself ready for the expectation that if we were to lose, that does not change how incredible this season has been so far. I don't expect to lose. I don't want to lose, but I'm just saying, without trying to be overly negative here, just this team is having an incredible unforeseen year. And if we're able to get to 5-0, it continues this fairy tale ride we're on. But this is a very good Wake Forest team because they have a very good quarterback, and it starts there.
Do you know how hard it is, folks, for Dave to actually fully and actually probably to say that Wake Forest is actually a good football team?
I hate it.
Upset. He hates it. And Wake Forest, Dave is right. Wake Forest is a very damn good football team, especially when you watch a lot of their football games. Dave Claus's offense is it's really nice to watch. I mean, the mesh concept that they run, I don't think there's a better mesh concept quarterback out there right now other than Sam Hartman right now.
Yep.
So to me, this will definitely come down to basically how the offense scores. And then one of my things, though, for the Clemson game, where an important caveat is that Clemson was missing 3 starting defensive backs. Now, I tweeted out during the game that, wow, Clemson's secondary right now looks like straight up food. And then I found out about that. I'm like, oh, so while Wake Forest has very elite wide receivers, they've had Sage Surratt go through there. They had A.T. Perry, I think, is still there right now. And I forget, Ja'Cory Roberson was the wide receiver last year who left for the NFL. they've always produced solid wide receiver play.
Yep.
And it helps with Sam Hartman, who I thought would be out for a much longer period of time, but came back for the Vanderbilt game and has been nothing short of lights out since then. He's probably the only quarterback that I had in my top 5 that's still playing as a top 5 QB across the ACC right now. So to me, this game's going to come down to basically how healthy is this team on the defensive side of the ball when we actually play on Saturday, because we definitely need some pass rush for this game actually for us to be not only in it, but also to mainly stifle the creativity of the Wake Forest offense.
Yeah, just there needs to be some more understanding here, because this Wake Forest defense last year was a comedy of errors.
It was pretty bad, yeah.
It was really bad.
Yeah, they gave
and
like 40 points to Army or something last year, if I remember correctly.
it felt like that Wake Forest defense could not do anything correctly last year. And
56 against Army, sorry.
It's frustrating for me to say this too, but this ain't your mama's Wake Forest defense. Right now, they're ranked number 4 in the country per Pro Football Focus, whether you like PFF or not. That defense has played well above expectations. Their defense has played substantially better than their offense to this point. They have a good pass rush. They have great coverage. They have good run defense. They're terrible at tackling. That's the good news. So you get our receivers in space, and maybe they're not going to get us to the ground, but this isn't the pushover Wake Forest defense that we were accustomed to last year. We're going to have to beat them in a shootout. I think if we're just talking high level view of the game, we're just going to have to outscore them. And that's a given. You have to outscore any team you play to win, but this isn't going to be one of those 20-17 games. This is going to be just like that Clemson game, 48-45, 45-42. It's going to be a race to 45 probably.
It probably is. We usually say the race to 30, but this is definitely probably a race to 40. Probably in this game overall, it's definitely going to be a shootout. If you look at their past few games, they've at least scored 35 or more. They scored 44 against VMI, 45 against Vanderbilt, 37 against Liberty, and then 45 against Clemson. So to me, this is basically it's going to come down to basically I think who has the ball last overall. Since we are doing a high level view, we'll have if the game is still going on. We actually are talking to Cam Lemons, the bro, later this week to get a little bit of a breakdown because he does probably cover Wake Forest better than anybody that we know around here. But to me, this is definitely going to come down to basically who has the ball last. And I also think that whoever turns the ball over more, because you do see with the Clemson game, while there was no turnovers between Clemson and Wake Forest, that when they didn't have the ball last, they were actually being the ones forced to score at the end. They struggled to execute there and close it out against Clemson.
Yeah, just if there's anything that's going to make you feel better going into this game, Wake Forest offensive line, not great. Not good blocking for either the pass or the run. So I know we said this last week, and it didn't materialize in the form of sacks, although it did.
Well, to be fair, Boston College's offensive line is a lot more offensive than Wake Forest's offensive line.
It is, but Wake Forest offensive line is bad also. Not quite as bad. No one's quite as bad as Boston College. So if we're able to get this defensive line going, create pressure on Sam Hartman, get him off his spot, make him miss some throws, get off the field. Don't let the defense stay on the field the whole game, which is tough because we've been scoring fast through chunk plays on offense. If just put points on the board, just get a few 3-and-outs, and I think you can outscore Wake Forest with this offense, because this offense this season for us has been nothing short of money. Yeah.
Straight up money. And hopefully Jared Verse will be back for this game. I don't expect Fabian Lovett to be back until maybe NC State at the earliest. So to me, Jared Verse, if he does come back, that will be huge for this team. And hopefully we see some I want to say some change of personnel along the offensive line overall, but we'll discuss that more probably later on in the week. But Dave, you know who we need to talk about before we head on to the rest of the schedule?
Is it money related?
It is money related. It is actually your friends over at Upside. Dave, you're a big fan of the Upside, right?
I am. Okay, guys, you just download the Upside app on your phone. If you're going to get gas, just open the app. It'll tell you which gas stations nearby are participating. It'll tell you what kind of a discount you're going to get per gallon in the form of cash back. The cash back is not difficult to redeem like offshore betting websites. It is just going to your PayPal or your Cash App or your Venmo, or they'll send you a check even, just because you purchased gas and opened their app and did their few easy steps. Highly recommend Upside. You get actual money. It'll pay for your lunch. Highly recommend.
Yeah, Dave's actually been using this before because he became a sponsor of the show, which is something that's how you know it's like something good because Dave has been using it since Nam. But folks, download the free Upside app and use promo code LOCKED LOCKED to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using promo code LOCKED LOCKED. So download the Upside app today. All right, Dave. Now, typically, we do a full, schedule preview breakdown after we've won a few games. But now I think we kind of shrink that down for the next few segments into the next three. We discussed ad nauseum that we wanted to be, I think, 3-1 after the Boston College game.
Ideally.
Actually, we're improved on that. We're 4-0. We're 4-0, which is great. So we are about to go through a murderer's row of teams. We're about to play a Wake Forest team at home that, as you said before, has the number 4 ranked offense in the country. And then after that, we travel to NC State, who's now a top 10 team in the country, and quite frankly, I think has all the goods to beat Clemson this weekend. Actually, while they go over to Death Valley, and then after that, we come back home to go up against Clemson on the middle of October. So, Dave, with these 3 games, how do you feel this team should, respond overall?
Well, I mean, if you want me to be an eternal optimist, I'm going to say we should strive for 2-1 in these games. I should strive for 3-0 in these games because none of these 3 teams look invincible. Oddly enough, I feel best about this NC State game.
Really?
Not been impressed with their offense and not been very impressed with their defense. They have played well under what I believe to be their expectations. Their top 10 ranking is, I think, going to prove to be a fraud by end of the year. Wake Forest, look, we just talked about this. I think this game is better than a coin flip. I think you just have to get to Sam Hartman a few times and you can win that game. I think if you can come away with 2 wins in that span, and if one of those could be against Clemson, you're feeling like this fairy tale ride season has not slowed down one bit. Being 6-1 after having played LSU, Louisville, Clemson, NC State, and Wake Forest, which how many ranked teams would that be? Is that 3 or 4?
It'd be like I think 3 or 4, yeah.
So almost half your schedule to that point would have been ranked teams. I think if you could just win 2 of these next 3 games, you have set this season up, especially in the back end where Florida and Miami are looking. What's the opposite of invincible? Vincible? Yeah, they're looking super vincible. So, yeah, I think if you were to lose 2 of these games, the problem is it would be understandable because these are all good ranked teams you're playing. But I think the perception on this Florida State team has changed. And I think I think the expectations have to adjust for us, the fans, the team, the coaching staff. I think probably the right message, if you're in that locker room, is preaching them, forget the last 4 games. This is a new season. Build on that momentum, but just treat this as the second quarter, or I don't know, the second third of the season, right? These next 4 games, and just do exactly what you've been doing, because this formula for this Florida State team has worked. It's a formula that I think will be able to beat NC State fairly easily the way they've been playing. And it's a formula that I think should be able to beat 1 or 2 of Clemson or Wake.
No, I completely agree with that. Also, folks, I do know that Dave's audio and video are not synced up, so we're still trying to work all the kinks out of that. But don't worry, we'll try to fix all of that probably for tomorrow's show. But I think Dave, you're very right about that, because this next 3 games are your hardest stretch of the entire year. We've always pointed to this basically being kind of the murderer's row, because we felt that we discussed ad nauseum that the ACC is the conference quarterbacks all year, right? With Louisville, with Millie Cunningham, we beat him. Boston College, Phil Dracovic, we beat that ass. Now we have Wake Forest with Sam Hartman, NC State with Devin Leary, and Clemson with DJU, who actually looks a lot more improved than last year. And quite frankly, we always wanted to go up against DJU and not K Klubnik. And right now, I feel like we're going up against DJU, because this is a murderer's row of teams where, per S&P Plus, you go up against number 42 in Wake, number 20 in NC State, and then number 13 in Clemson. So you're going up against 3 top 50 S&P Plus teams, 2 of them being in the top 20 in these next 3 weeks. And to me, while 3-0 is attainable, I think you at least strive for, if we go 2-1 through the series, 1, we are already automatically qualified for a bowl game, and it's not even the middle of October, which is huge. So to me, overall, like, this is going to be this will actually tell us what this team really is, because we learned that Duquesne is Duquesne. LSU actually looks a lot better now that over his past few weeks. Jaden Daniels, I think, is in the top 3 for SEC quarterbacks. Louisville, the offense is really good, but we need to learn how to stop running quarterback. And then Boston College is probably the worst team in the entire conference, not named Georgia Tech, who just fired Jeff Collins. So to me, these next 3 games are going to be very important in telling us who exactly this team overall is.
If you're that guy who's going to have taken this first 4 games and treat that as, well, now we have to go undefeated or this season's a waste, we're going to lose a football game. Like, not to be the bearer of bad news here, but that's what happens in college football unless you're one of the very, very few best teams in the country, because we play so many ranked teams this year. That's just going to happen by virtue of being college football. This team losing one of these next 3 games would not make this season any less special. It would not take away anything from what this team has accomplished this year. And I think, like you said, 2-1 puts us in far more ideal of a spot than any of us would have thought coming into this year, knowing that stretch would include LSU, Louisville, Wake, NC State, Clemson.
No, I completely agree with that. And overall, it just seems to me that I think after the break, we'll discuss this more, but I do want to talk about actually probably each of the other games individually and see which ones you think actually probably will give a win probability, like we used to do that, because we have those 3 games and then we have a bye and then look a sort of outlook on the rest of the season. All right, Dave, we're towards the end of the show. And now let's look at these 3 games individually and give us a win probability for these 3 games. Ready to go?
Yep.
All right, let's start with your favorite team of all time, Wake Forest. I know we're going to do a bigger preview later on in the week. What are your thoughts on this game really quickly and your win probability overall?
So Wake Forest offense is really hard to slow down, and unfortunately their defense is actually playing well this year. This, I think, is a better Wake Forest team than it probably was last year as a result of that. Depending on where you look, some of the stats really love Wake Forest. But that being said, this Florida State team is equipped to handle, I think, a Wake Forest team like this. If you have, if the 2 chinks in their armor are run and pass blocking, so offensive line play, and tackling on defense, I think those are 2 of the really key areas that you would hope to exploit, because our receivers have played well above what we thought they were going to do. So you get them the ball in space and just let them do their thing. If they're not able to tackle our receivers, you're going to see plenty of house calls, and you're going to see that either way because it's going to be a high scoring game. But I like I said, I just trust Jordan Travis at this point to get it done when it matters. This game's going to come down to the end. I can't believe I finally can say that I trust a Florida State quarterback down the stretch, but that's where we are.
And so give me a percentage right now, Dave. What do you got?
65.
Nice. Almost 69. I like that. I'm going to go probably with a 58% chance, mainly because I do agree with you, but I do think it's going to be a shootout. And also there's one play on Wake Forest's defense that does scare me a little bit, and that's their edge defender, Rondell Bothroyd. And to me, I don't think Robert Scott's going to come back for a while. And we kind of you see the ever-changing basically at the tackle spots. I would love to basically see some pieces move towards the inside. Primarily, I want to see Julian Armella maybe get some run, maybe get some burn too as well. So to me, Rondell Bothroyd is someone that basically you're going to have to look out for. So you're at 65. I'll be at 58. Now let's move over to NC State. Dave, NC State, you've been the one saying that Devin Leary is an okay quarterback, I think is a nice way to put it. So let's go. Let us know what you think.
Okay, he's like Devin Leary's ceiling is like Mike Glennon, which that's not bad. He's a good Twitter presence.
Why would Mike Glennon also beat us in college too, right? You want to go with the one NC State quarterback that beat us in the 1 year that we thought we could win it all?
Listen, that's how we're going to get past this together. I watched that NC State game just like you all did. I remember, and it was bad, but this NC State team's not that good. Like, I know that's going to sound crazy because obviously they are a top 10 ranked team, but those rankings don't mean anything. Florida State should have been ranked well before they were. Their defense, like I said, not great. Hold on one sec. I'd like to pull up these stats if I may. Yeah, if you thought Wake Forest was bad at tackling, just the worst category for Florida State, according to PFF, is pass blocking at 59.4. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
NC State, Wake Forest, I told you they were bad at tackling,
Mhm.
right? They
Yeah.
grade at a 59.4. NC State grades at a 48.9. That is a really, really bad tackling grade, like among the worst in the country. So I think that's the kind of game where a guy like Micah Pittman's going to thrive. You're going to be able to just throw the ball up and on easy passes, high percentage passes. But Jordan Travis has just been incredible with this year. Exactly the growth we needed to see from him. NC State's offense has had a harder time getting moving than I think a lot of people thought they would. They grade a 76 on offense, which is really bad. Uh, their passing grade is what's dragging them down, 65.1. That's not good.
Yeah, I'm about to
Uh,
say, like, I mean, the offense isn't bad. It's like it's more that Devin Leary hasn't played up to like what everyone expected him to be this year.
that's right. They're good at running the football. They're not good at passing the football, and that's hilarious because of all the hype you got for Devin Leary. But he just hasn't performed up to what everybody thought he would be so far this year, and it's reflected in their offense. This team is due for kind of getting punched in the face because I think they are overrated, they are overhyped and overinflated. And this just feels like a good spot, like I said, for a team that can't tackle and that hasn't thrown the ball well because they're gonna have to keep up with us, and that's gonna be really hard to do on the ground.
So percentage wise, Dave, what you got?
75.
Damn, 75. I'm gonna go actually probably with a 69 percentage point
I
here.
love that.
Mainly because this NC State team is what me and you thought Florida State's team probably would be heading into the year, and I mean
Yeah.
that by their offense is 53rd per S&P Plus, which is a downgrade from last year. Now Devin Leary is a very good QB, but if you listen to the Locked on ACC, also Locked on Wolfpack, that when they were still waiting on us coming out party because basically there was this this Heisman contention not being legitimate, but like he actually has the skills and talent level to do that. However, he has struggled mightily all season. That struggle by his standards is still being pretty solid, pretty average, but still not pushing to over the top. It's the defense for NC State that scares me. NC State's defense per S&P Plus is number 8 in the country. That is a very, very damn good defense. And quite frankly, it's probably going to be the best defense we play all season long, and I'm including Clemson, mainly because Clemson's defensive line is very good. But secondary, as you saw against Wake Forest, is okay. Linebacker play is solid, but to me, the NC State defense is going to be really good. And also, this game being at Carter Finley is going to be also a huge, huge momentum favor for them. But to me, it's a team that, quite frankly, I think we should beat. So with 69%, I think it'll be a right spot for that.
I love the number. I will push back on that NC State defense being what you're saying because they're not really overly great at anything individually besides coverage. So cover our receivers, but good luck tackling them when they catch the ball. So I expect
like around the 70s, man.
I expect to win that game. Our defense is ranked higher than NC State's on PFF.
All right. Well, you know what, Dave?
I'm going to stick to what makes us look good.
Okay, fine. That's fair. That's fair. So go over now with the Clemson Tigers, Dabo Sweeney, somehow still undefeated. What'd you feel about this game?
I don't know that there's anyone on this schedule, including Florida and Miami, that I want to beat more than Clemson. I don't like how long it's been, obviously, but setting that aside, that game last year just still doesn't sit right. It felt like we should have won that football game.
We should have.
They were the better team that day, or they were the better football team, excuse me, not that day. They were the better football team, but it felt like we should have won that game. DJU was all over the place. Obviously, he just had a great game. Really his first breakout game of the year. Their quarterback instability would have probably benefited us. I would have liked to have seen them just trying things out at quarterback, but it seems like they're probably set now on starting DJU and going with him for this game.
See, I'm the opposite because I still think the bad DJU can come out. I think with K Klubnik, at least you don't have tape on him.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that to be the case. Obviously, I mean, there's knowns about this Clemson team, which is they have a good defense. It's not the same Clemson defense that we're used to seeing, where it's like top 5 in the country. Depending on where you look, you'll find them outside the top 25 even, because there's things that they're not great at either, like coverage. They're not great at coverage, and they're also not tackling is not one of their strong suits. So coverage and tackling, that's something that we're well set to exploit, again, with our receiving core and with the way Jordan Travis is throwing the football. Clemson's offensive grade, nothing special. Their pass blocking their run blocking is terrible. Their receiving game is bad. We knew that going into the year that their receiving core was going to be one of the worst in the ACC. They're good at running it, and because of their last game, they've been much better at throwing it despite their receiver play. Clemson's a good football. This is all to say Clemson's a very good football team.
Very good football team.
Is it a top 5 quality team? I firmly believe it's not.
Top 10, not top 5.
10. That's right. But it's funny because doesn't this Florida State team, I mean, we started unranked. Had we started the season ranked, we'd probably be around the top 10 right now. So that context matters. But it doesn't feel like Clemson is in this like other echelon in terms of like what we've seen on the field this year. Like, I know there's this mystique and aura about them because they've been to so many college football playoffs and they beat us for so long now. But based on what we've seen this year, this Clemson team doesn't feel like it necessarily should beat us. This game feels like a complete coin flip to me. As long as Jordan Travis is healthy and the offensive line doesn't sustain any more injuries, I'm literally going to give you 50-50 coin flip.
I can mainly agree with that, primarily because I do believe I've been saying for the past 2 years that the Clemson that we know is dead. Like,
Yeah,
to me,
it is.
When I saw the Ohio State versus Clemson game when Tony Elliott was out due to COVID and then Dabo got his hands back on a play sheet, I don't think he's ever given another play sheet before. And then to me, that Ohio State game was the equivalent of our Oregon game from many years ago. Basically, just you get embarrassed on a national scale, and you kind of see basically where recruiting doesn't take a huge dip, but basically you can tell that it's different because the wide receivers for Clemson are not the same anymore. You don't have your Sammy Watkins, you don't have your DeAndre Hopkins, you don't have a Justin Ross anymore. And the running backs too, Will Shipley is a good player. I don't think he's the same caliber as like someone as a Travis Etienne we've seen for so many years. And then with DJU, they've had Taj Boyd, they've had Kelly Bryant, but then they went over to Deshaun Watson. They also had Trevor Lawrence. There's not DJU right now. I think is in the middle between probably Taj Boyd and maybe Deshaun. But I don't see basically him going for more than that. And then with defense, that defensive line is gross. I'm not going to say anything. It's disgusting. They have like 3 potential top 15 picks on there. But like I said, the secondary isn't that great. AJ Terrell was probably the last player that was amazing on the defensive side of the ball that is now in the NFL. So to me, it's a game that I thought we should have won last year. Play calling wasn't the biggest fan of. That was a game also that while Jordan kept doing the game, Jordan did struggle a little bit in that game. And that was one of those games where you can point to where you see if it was Jordan this year and he was playing that game last year, we probably would have won by 10 to 14 points. So to me, I think coin flip is the right spot. I'm going to go with I'm going to price this right to you real quick. I'm going to go 51% just to go a little bit ahead of you with that overall. But to me, this is a game that playing at Doak, and to me, game day probably could be there if we actually do end up being probably 6-0 at this point.
Yep.
That this is a game that Wood will win, and like you're in the conversation now for the ACC Atlantic pitcher.
Yeah, if we were to go 2-1 in these next 3 games, I think you're looking at a team that's probably ranked top 20 still, maybe top 15, depending on which ones you beat and when the loss comes. But like you said, if you're going into that Clemson game undefeated, you're looking at a top 10 matchup, and unless Clemson's lost a game since then, which I don't expect. I've thought a lot of DJU throughout his career, but I've lost hope in him. Obviously, if he's playing above Kate Klubnik, who's supposed to be like the next coming of, I don't know, pick Tom Brady. Sure. I don't know. I don't trust DJ. And the receivers are bad. That's definitely not helping him. So that's a game that I don't feel unconfident in. It's hard to feel confident because historically and that defense is still good. Like you said, one of the best defensive lines in the country. But here's the thing. Add that coin flip to my other 2, and you have 1.9. So you would expect
I was doing the math too. Yeah,
you would expect 1.9 wins in these next 3 games, meaning you're expecting to go 2-1 most likely. You go 2-1 in these games. Any one of those is going to be a loss to a ranked team. So that's what those SEC teams call a quality loss, right? Florida, big quality loss to Tennessee last week.
I think they just lose now, dude. To be quite honest with you, I know SEC gets the quality loss kind of verbatim type of thing, but yeah, I think they just lose now.
Yeah, man. We're talking about going 6-1 here. Florida, I mean, Jesus, if they're going to make a bowl, they're going to need to figure some things out. So, wow, that just feels really good to say.
It feels great to say. And I have us right now 1.78. So I'm in the middle between the two of basically being either one or two, mainly leaning a little more two, because I think 2 wins is definitely attainable here, because I do think that Wake Forest is your most beatable team. I think Clemson honestly is more beatable team. I didn't get the percentage, but I think basically from seeing what we had last year, because the rally, the Carter Finley kind of stadium, kind of like juju that you and Max have told me about for like so many times, it is a real thing. But to me overall, I would love to see this team basically imagine this team just being able to go bowling in the middle of October. That's something that we probably have not been excited to talk about. I don't think we've ever made a bowl game since we started this podcast. So it'll be nice to actually probably finally have that as a podcast together. But folks, I want to thank each and every single one of you for spending your day with us and making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every single day. And also, Dave, please let the folks know what to do on YouTube and all across all media platforms.
Yes, because my video is apparently laggy, then find us anywhere you can find your podcast: Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google Play. For the YouTube, however, give the video a like if you liked it, please. Subscribe to the channel, ding the little bell at the top, turn on your notifications, let you know when our videos drop. Leave us a comment, tell us what we got right, what we got wrong. We're going to go 3-0 in that stretch, aren't we? Tell me why I'm an idiot for suggesting there's any chance we might not.
And folks, we love the comments, so please keep them rocking, keep them rolling. And once again, that was Dave. This was Drake, and we'll see y'all next time on Locked On Seminoles. Take care, everybody.
Go Noles, beat Wake.
Go Noles, beat Wake. Never thought I would say those words.